Hello, Dina here, Little Widow, littlewidow.com, The Littlest Widow on Instagram, The Little Widow on Twitter, which I still have not figured out how to use properly, and we're working on getting a proper YouTube address. Before I start talking, we have a new deck that we're gonna use tonight. I smudged them, but I did not shuffle yet. There are the Tarot of the Sevenfold Mystery by Robert Place. I do love this deck. It's another duplicate that I bought. It was my instinct to use this tonight. I don't know the person that the reading is for. It is a request that came in through the email on the website. It was my instinct to use this. This deck is not all foobarred like that one I opened on camera that time. This starts with the Fool, as it should. It ends with the King of Wands. Nothing out of the ordinary here. I have faith that this is a complete product. I love this version of the Fool. I've shown this before. I think it's because she looks a little like me, and she has an Italian Greyhound, and I like Italian Greyhounds. But just the same. So this particular deck, the meanings in some of the cards are a hair different than the normal ones. Much in the way that Robert Place's alchemical tarot that we use a lot is a tad different. He just relates things here and there slightly differently. So if we end up with one of those cards in a pivotal place where the reading might be something a little bit different than I would normally interpret it, we'll talk about it and take it into account. I'm just going to try to get a good shuffle on here, being they're new. Break them in a little bit. So I did crazy night tonight. I don't know, weird energy all around. Everybody's anxious. We'll see. So as I always do, I ask for, if you would like a reading, just send me a question, email me please. I am happy to keep everything anonymous and check things out. I do like a birth date, time, and place. So tonight's reading is from someone, and her question is, will I ever get pregnant? And if not, why not? Okay, so we have two questions. So we're gonna tackle the first one first, and hopefully we have a good answer, and we don't really need to worry too much about the second one. I assume, again, it's not someone that I really know, and we're not gonna put a lot of faith in the fact that something jumped out, because these are slippery and they're new. The card that jumped out is the Five of Swords. This actually is a card that I drew earlier for someone else. In this deck, it's a little bit different than the typical meaning of the Five of Swords. It actually means to mend things. So, we'll come back to that later. Again, these are new, they're very slippery. The fact that something popped out of a new deck, we're not gonna worry a ton about. Anywho, I didn't get much backstory. I didn't get any backstory. So the fact that it was worded as though, am I ever going to get pregnant, makes me think that she's been trying, I would assume. I have to assume that is, we've been trying and it's not working. Right? I guess. So I did her chart. I looked at her chart. From the looks of your chart, it looks to me like you will have a child. The birth time that you provided, you said approximately. I'm not trying to be a stickler, but here's the thing with approximately. Depending on what it is, approximate matters some days more than others. As an example, let's say you sent me a message saying, Dina, I am going bananas. I feel like the world is crashing down on me. I can't get a break. What's going on? And I look at your chart, and this is not the case with this woman, but this is just an example. If I looked at your chart and I saw that your sun was at 19 or 20 degrees of Capricorn, I would be like, oh, well, Pluto has parked its ass right on your sun and has been backing itself back and forth, over and over again, for over a year now, and will continue to do so. A scenario like that, your exact to the minute time doesn't matter all that much. However, what I saw in this woman's chart, the things that I see that are promising, that do look to me like, yes, there's going to be a child, are very, very particular. They have to do with that pesky 5th house that we talked about the other day. And essentially, it's your progressed sun is going to enter your 5th house. At the same exact time, there's a couple other things happening. There's a Neptune square, and if you've wanted a baby for a long time, Neptune can be like a dream come true kind of thing. That happens. Same time, there's an aspect of Uranus to your progressed 7th house, which would show like, oh my God, the dynamic between my partner and I has totally changed. All things which would be completely consistent with a baby showing up in your life, you know? Or consistent with, you know, maybe it's been an infant, but now it's starting to move around or something like that, you know? The reason I mention the approximate birth time thing is because we're looking at angles and house cusps. If the time you gave me is correct to the minute, I see these changes happening in about 4.5 years. I know that's a long time. That said, like I said, they do look to me like the baby is there at 4.5 years though. Not that you're just getting pregnant. I think that the child is there or is a couple months old when these aspects happen. That said, if your birth time was 2 minutes earlier or 3 minutes earlier, these things are gonna be happening that I see 1.5 to 2 years earlier. So, you know, check your birth time. If you find that it's 2 or 3 minutes earlier, expect that to show up in your life a lot sooner. If it is the exact time that you gave me, I would be very surprised if there is not a child that is the focus of your life by, I would say, spring, summer 2023 at the latest. And I do know that's a long time, but we're gonna ask the cards and see what they see. And they are ready. So we are asking if she is going to, not quite ready. If she's going to have a baby, if she's gonna have a baby. Getting pregnant is one thing. We want a baby, right? I've had a lot of friends were pregnant a lot of times without having a baby. So we want to know if she's going to have a successful pregnancy, really. We're not putting a time limit on it. We just want to know that it's going to happen or not. If there's something clearly standing in our way, show us that right in this reading, and otherwise we can do a quick follow-up. Okay. Great first card, Ace of Wands. We're working in the environment of the Magician. Nothing really says new life like the Ace of Wands and the Magician. So, and the Fool. Oh my goodness, not much standing in our way really. Queen of Wands is our foundation. Moving away from the Knight of Wands. Ace of Pentacles is above us. 2 aces are great in a reading like this. Page of Cups is before. The Hierophant. 5 of Cups is kind of an outside factor. 8 of Swords, interesting. And our outcome card is the 9 of Cups. Beautiful. All right, this is extremely positive. I have nothing but good vibes here. They're not giving us an indicator of time necessarily, because both the near future and the outcome card I would consider extraordinarily positive. We will get into it a little bit. So aces, you know, I've kind of said before, aces they're the seed of something. I mean, really, an ace of any suit can represent fertility. The Ace of Wands in particular can literally be sperm fertilizes egg. The thing about an ace though is sometimes it doesn't materialize. It's this It's almost like if you think about how before anything enters our life, before it's even a thought, you know, it's the notion that it occurs kind of on another plane before we accept it into our presence. That's the ace. So that's the energy representing her, as well as the energy overarching the whole thing is the Ace of Pentacles. So we have two aces here, which is fantastic. We have something representing fire and passion and kind of the seed of life. And then the energy over the whole thing is really the ace that represents the physical plane and our bodies more than anything else. It's occurring in the environment of the Magician. In this deck, he's Hermes, but I mean, the Magician really, he is what manifests. I mean, he creates. I see no real obstacle standing in her way. The Fool, the Stulticia that I love in this deck, I mean, that's a card that represents children and birth and fresh starts. So, you know, all around, everything is positive. With the exception of a card that's showing up, the cards that are showing up as outside factors are the only two cards that aren't positive. And just because you said, you know, if I'm not getting pregnant, why? It's the only reason why I'm even mentioning them. They're the Five of Cups, which tends to be a grief card. It tends to have to do with, sometimes it can be crying over spilled milk, but sometimes it could be grieving something. It could be being sad about something. It could be not being able to get over something. So that, in addition to the Eight of Swords, which is a card of kind of like obsession and worry, these are the only two negative cards in here, and they're showing kind of like an environment or an outside factor. So again, I don't know you and I don't know your circumstance or your situation. I don't know if maybe they're showing that you know, have been trying for a long time and you're grieving this, or if you maybe have tried and lost a baby already, or if you lost one of you or your husband has lost someone important to you recently, you know, and maybe there's an emotional blockage. The Five of Cups with the Eight of Swords kind of seem like worry, and they're sad cards, but they're outside factors. They're not representing you, actually, and they're not representing the outcome. The cards representing you are the Ace of Wands, which is, I mean, she's literally bearing a flaming wand of life, and the Hierophant, which is a card of, a lot of times it represents church, law and order, marriage, established, committed things, going by the book sometimes. So everything is very positive. In your near future is in this deck they call her the Lady of Vessels, or the Lady of Cups. It's the Page of Cups, basically. And pages they are young people. They are messages sometimes. They're basically, they're similar to an ace. It's like a new emotional promise. It's a positive card in a pregnancy reading. Anytime you see a page, it can indicate a child. The outcome is the Nine of Cups, though, which is, we talk about the Nine of Cups a lot. The Nine of Cups is the wish card, really. It's a beautiful card, especially in this deck. He does not give this card any of the negative aspects, actually, that are sometimes related to it. You know, the Nine of Cups can be solitary. This has a mountain goat, I believe is what he is. But you know, nines relate back to the Hermit. So we often say, you know, it could be solitary, it could be this, it could be that. It could be getting everything that you want, but it could be getting it alone. But in a reading like this, that's not even an applicable interpretation. I mean, I totally see that, yes, completely. If this is what you want, this card is saying, yes, you will get pregnant and you will have a baby. It's one step below the completion of the suit. So I think this is an incredibly positive reading, and I see nothing in your chart that shows that you wouldn't have a child. Like I said, double check your birth time. If that time is completely correct, it does look like it probably is going to be about 4 years. I don't know why that is. I mean, based on this reading, it could be sooner because, I mean, the Page of Cups is in your near future position. So, I mean, to me, this would probably indicate maybe the pregnancy when I'm coupling it with these aces here, and the Nine of Cups saying, yes, this is everything you ever wanted. Here it is. So I definitely think that it's happening. So just try not to obsess, try not to worry. Everything looks lovely, and I think you're gonna get everything you want. So, yay! That makes me happy. All right, if you have any other questions, email me. And for you guys at home, if you have a question, hit me up. Email's on the website. I will be happy to do your reading as well. All right, good night.